Ash-gray light seeped through the broken vaults of the Red Keep, revealing the ruin Jon Snow had left behind. Rubble still smoked in silent columns, and the Iron Throne lay twisted like calcified sinew, glinting beneath loose dust. Drogon's wing beats faded into the bruised horizon, yet Bran Stark followed them, not on crippled legs that could never tread those ash-blotted stairways, but on tides of sight no mortal eyes possessed. Within the dragon soul, heat roiled. Bran barely skimmed its surface before pain rasped like a furnace grate across his skin. Drogon's mind was magma, blazing, directionless, steeped in mourning for the mother whose scent yet clung to claw and breastplate scale. Bran anchored himself in the still pool at the center of that storm, thoughts drifting like ice across molten glass. He did not force will upon the beast. He whispered presence, smoothing frayed edges of rage, the way Oldnan once quieted a snarling hound with a touch no stronger than snowfall. Slowly the dragon banked eastward over Blackwater Bay. Wind screamed through the gaps of broken keep towers. Iron-born ships still burned on the tide, casting ribbons of orange upon black waves. Bran felt the air pressure fold around Drogon's wings, felt every tremor of bowstring and distant shouted oath. He let that river of sensation flow through him, a lesson the three-eyed raven had taught beneath the cold, star-silver boughs of the weirwood. Do not fight the current. See where it bends. Below, Tyrion Lannister trudged across fallen masonry with a limp born of guilt and grief. He did not look up, perhaps fearing to glimpse the monster he had tried and failed to cage with reason. Bran dipped Drogon's shoulder, tilting the horizon, but he did not descend. Not yet. First he must learn the rhythm of the dragon's heart, must let the pulse of fire and the pulse of green sight entwine until the boundaries of flesh and memory braided into one. Drogon swept north along the coast, claws trailing sparks against cloud bellies heavy with soot. King's Landing dwindled. Vineyards once tilled by small folk flashed silver beneath morning frost. Their vines cut to char war-scarred fields sprawled like flayed hide. There was no music here, no hammer on anvil, no reed flute by shared hearth. Only the crackle of distant pyres and the hush of something finished. Bran felt each emptiness as a hollow in Drogon's breast. Dragons remembered loss. Their kind had almost ended with the doom of Valyria, and even now they carried echoes of that cataclysm like shards in their blood. Bran tasted that memory. Broken mountains, rivers boiling under red skies, fire that birthed stone rain. He offered the dragon a counter-image, not command, but companion to pain. The weirwood at Winterfell, roots sunk deep, snow falling in patient silence. A promise that something endured. Fury softened to ache. The furnace settled to a low thrum. Drogon's wings slowed. Bran slipped deeper, seeking the dark places where instinct nested. There, beneath layers of sunlit flight and molten grief, coiled a question. Not in words but in scent, color, sensation. Where is she? Bran did not answer, because truth had no voice gentle enough. Yet the dragon sensed the shape of his silence. It turned inward, keening, though no mortal ear could mark the sound. The warg within Bran felt it as a tremor through marrow. Tears he could never shed welled in the corners of the mind his body now inhabited. Far below, the King's Road unrolled like a scar. A lone rider galloped south. Davos Seaworth, cloak snapping, face set toward smoke. Bran saw him for a heartbeat, recognized duty etched in that weather-scarred jaw. He wondered what Davos might make of a dragon passing overhead, guided by eyes once blue with hexed frost and now thrumming with furnace red. But the Onion Knight did not look up. Drogon turned inland, chased by his own shadow across patchwork marsh. Hills rose and dipped like sleeping wolves. At their heart gleamed the god's eye, mirror still beneath dawn. Bran tasted its nearness. The Isle of Faces, the heart of his order. There, perhaps, a dragon might find counsel older than Valyria, older even than man. He let the longing rise inside Drogon. Curiosity twined with grief, and felt wings answer, angling toward birch-forested shoreline. Wind thickened with lake mist. The scent of pine resin blended with brine. Bran guided Drogon into wide spirals, descending until reeds bent under hurricane wash. Here, the wolf dreamed through the dragon's gaze. Bran remembered another flight, when ravens burst like black snow from the ice groves and carried him to a cave beyond the wall. That boy had been half dead, half afraid. Now he guided a force that could shatter keeps with a roar. The Isle's ring of weirwoods appeared, a crown of bone-white trunks banded in ancient scabbard red. Faces carved millennia past opened their leafy lids, eyes bleeding sap. Drogon's talons stirred water as he settled upon the mossed bank. Steam vented from nostrils, curling across still surface. The weirwoods neither flinched nor bowed. They regarded dragon and rider as secrets reacquainting themselves. Bran unthreaded from Drogon's mind, retreating like tide drawn from cavern. Vision tunneled to the warmth of his own body, seated on a wheeled chair in the echoing hall of the Red Keep Council chamber. There, long pale fingers clutched armrests, knuckles white. Sweat beaded his brow. A single lantern flickered on the table, illuminating parchment maps Tyrion had left strewn. The small hand of the king had gone seeking justice amid ruin. Bran remained in shadow, breath shallow, the echo of wing beats still resounding behind ribs. His guard stood by the door, Ser Podrick Payne, eyes wide as though he sensed the unnatural hush. When Bran blinked, Podrick stepped forward. "Your Grace?" He whispered, voice trembling like taut bowstring. Bran's lips parted. They were stiff, as though carved from northern ice. Words felt brittle in his throat. "Fetch Maester Samwell," Bran said at last, voice low, measured. "Tell him the realm's future flies over the god's eye, and we must be ready when it returns." Podrick bowed and hurried into corridors lit by dawn's first reluctant glow. Bran listened until footsteps faded. Then he closed his eyes and pulled the velvet curtain of awareness back across the dragon's gaze. Darkness, heat, the steady drum of three hearts layered, dragon, human, and something older than both. Bran watched himself from within Drogon's vision. A boy king on a throne of wheels, skin paler than the moon, eyes hollow and infinite. The sight unsettled the dragon. To see one's own rider mirrored in a dream was unnatural. Bran soothed again, the way a mother hums over a restless babe. On the isle, Drogon paced the weirwood ring. Each face followed, their carved mouths set in prayers forgotten by men. Bran guided the dragon's gaze upward, through leaves whispering with a wind that did not touch the lake, into sky freshly scrubbed by spring drizzle. Clouds parted, revealing sun bright as a newborn forge. Light struck Drogon's scales, igniting rivers of crimson and onyx. Mist boiled away. Bran extended thought not to command but to ask. "Why here?" The dragon turned toward a gap in the circle, where a path of flattened rushes led to a clearing. At its center lay stones arranged in spiral, moss-covered but older than castles. Bran recognized the pattern. Children of the forest placed such glyphs to anchor power in land and memory. He remembered the first long night when men and children bound ice and fire in desperate accord. Drogon pressed a talon upon the spiral's heart. The stone cracked, steam rose. Beneath, moist earth breathed faint gold. Bran felt ancient threads stir, weaving dragon flame with green seer sight. For a heartbeat the world teetered, past, present, future overlapping like waves colliding. Visions flooded. The doom again, but also the birth of dragons in Shadowlands beyond Ass High. Aegon's conquest seen through black wings. Daenerys and Karth hearing bells of home across poison water. Jon's knife unsheathing. Drogon roaring his mother's agony. And further, a field of deep winter night where the dead marched once more beneath a strange purple sky. In that bleak vista Bran saw himself astride a dragon whose eyes blazed blue as heartstone. Snow swirled, yet it was ash. Yet it was petals from a white tree. All paths twisted, braided, converged upon this isle. Bran reeled inside the torrent. The dragon reared, wings smashing branches, sending weirwood leaves spiraling crimson. The faces groaned as though in a single breath. Bran clung to Drogon's fury like a rider to a mad stallion in storm. "Hold," he told himself. "Hold." At last the surge ebbed. Bran exhaled. The weirwood stilled. The spiral pulsed once then dimmed. Drogon folded wings, chest heaving. Bran extended calm. A hush that settled over water and leaf alike. He understood. This place was hinge, lock, and key. To wield a dragon as Greenseer was to open doors sealed since the dawn of fire. But even a door sealed is door still. What steps through may not heed a king's decree. Bran's thought drifted across narrow sea, to Valyria's smoking ruins where shadows moved beneath glassy ground. He tasted the memory of 1,000 draconic ghosts, restless in abyss. A wrong tug might wake more than he could cage. Yet the realm demanded guardianship unlike any age before. Bran could not stand from his chair to cross a threshold. He must ride a storm to it. Day aged toward noon. Samwell Tarly arrived at the council chamber, cheeks flushed from hurried climb. Bran opened his eyes in his own body to greet him, leaving Drogon nesting among roots. "Close the door," Bran said. Sam obeyed, clutching raven-feathered quills and an inkwell. "You sent for me, your grace?" Bran's gaze flicked to window draped in lichen-colored curtains. Sunlight spilled upon dust motes drifting like snow. "The realm is wounded," he murmured. "It bleeds fear and ambition in equal measure. Yet our greatest power lies unbound because grief has chained it." Sam frowned, ink-stained fingers tightening around cool shaft. "You speak of Drogon." "Of fire," Bran corrected, "and of eyes that see beyond summer and winter." He told Sam little of the island. Some truths needed soil to root before they were spoken aloud. Instead he spoke of balance, how dragons once kept Valyria from tearing itself apart, and how their demise unmoored power into madness and doom. "Dragons are not weapons," he said. "They are scales upon which histories weigh."
Sam listened, brow furrowed.
"If you mean to shepherd Drogon, some will doubt your motives. They fear what burned King's Landing may burn any seat of power that offends you." Bran's smile was thin, almost wistful. They feared dragons in the Age of Heroes too, when no dragon yet lived. Fear is thread woven into man's cloth. "I will not cut it, only guide its pattern." Sam dipped quill. "What would you have me write?" "Proclaim," Bran said, "that Drogon shall be tended as protector of the realm, not executioner. That the dragon answers neither crown nor council, but ancient pact to guard living and dead alike. And that any who seek to slay or steal him will face judgment older than thrones." Sam's hand trembled above parchment. "Older than thrones?" "The heart of the world," Bran whispered. "Right." Ink scratched. Outside, bells tolled faintly. Signals of meeting, mourning, beginnings. Bran retreated once more through dark corridors of flesh and flame, slipping into Drogon's senses like a hermit into cave. On the isle, dusk gathered though the sun had scarcely tilted. Shadows pooled between roots that had drunk blood of men and sap of time. Drogon's nostrils flared. He sensed approach. Not man, not child of forest, but something else. Branches parted. A doe stepped into clearing, coat dappled bronze beneath last beams. She bowed head toward spiral stones, unafraid, as though greeting kin. Bran felt Drogon's hunger surge, an ache like emptiness in every scale cavity. Yet he damped the impulse. The doe's eyes were old, depthless. They shone with the quiet of weirwood bone. Drogon lowered neck, breath rumbling hot across damp earth. The doe did not flee. She walked to the dragon's massive foreleg, pressed muzzle against obsidian scale. Silence thickened until Bran's own heart seemed to still. Then gently, the doe turned, vanishing between trunks. Her hoofprints glowed a moment with soft gold before fading. Bran understood nothing of the gesture, yet his soul felt threaded anew to the isle. Night settled, stars winked open. Across the lake, frogs began their choir. Drogon folded wings, tail curling around spiral stones. Bran rested in that living furnace, senses woven with cricket song and distant owl cry. He would keep vigil until morning faded to memory, until dragon and Greenseer breathed as one. Only then would he guide Drogon back to skies above men's courts, where lords would tremble to see a king who could not walk stride the last fire made flesh. But first, the darkness, the listening, the patience of trees. Flame must temper in cool night before it forges tomorrow. Somewhere far away, Tyrion spread new tiles upon war table, debating taxes. Sansa stitched banners for a north reborn. Arya studied unknown coasts, charting wind and wave. Each believed the realm now theirs to shape. Yet on an isle shrouded by myths older than maps, Dragonfire slumbered within Greenseer's dream, kindling foundations for dawn no prophet could scry. And Bran Stark, who had been boy and crow and king, sat unseen at the hearth of the world, quietly turning the wheel whose spokes were wings. Sequel. Wind-wrought dusk clung to the Isle of Faces like a cloak sewn from murmured legends. Shadows stretched long beneath the weirwoods, each face a silent witness lit by rose-hued sap that wept along ancient grain. Bran Stark lingered in two bodies at once, his frail flesh far across the world, seated within the ruined council chamber, and his truer self coiled inside Drogon's furnace-bright heart. Hours passed. When moonrise silvered the lake, the hush broke beneath the crack of ice where none should be. Along the northern bank a rim of frost crystallized, spiderweb thin, despite the warmth of spring. Bran's green-seer senses prickled. Something older than winter stirred, drawn by dragonfire touching a place once vowed to keep balance. Within Drogon the pulse quickened, nostrils tasting iron that lived not in blood but memory. Bran felt the beast's instincts coil toward fury, yet sorrow anchored that rage. He steadied both. From the gloom emerged shapes, three, cloaked in fur of dire wolf white yet trimmed with feathers blacker than void. They moved as one, soles not denting softened moss. Their faces wore no living skin. They were carved from frozen breath, pale outlines of children of the forest, cousins to leaf and shadow. The tallest raised a hand. Bran sensed no threat, only deep time layered like rings in heartwood. Drogon's wings lowered, though heat shimmered across clearing, warping starlight. The child wraith spoke in a tongue few men had heard since giants mourned the first sunrise. His cadence was water dripping upon stone, slow, patient, shaping, yet meaning translated within Bran's mind as image. A wheel forged of dragon scale and weirwood root, spinning into ages yet unwalked. The figure gestured to the spiral stones, and behind them, deeper forest where a pillar of obsidian jutted, half consumed by roots. That shard throbbed faint scarlet, resonance answering Drogon's furnace. Bran knew stories whispered by the last three-eyed raven. How the children once forged bonds with fire made flesh to cage an evil sleeping beneath the world. Valyria's dragons had been but new kin to older fire. The pact etched here promised guardianship if the world's pulse ever faltered. Doom's echoes, Aegon's conquest, and now Daenerys' fall, all tremors of that same fracturing wheel. The child wraith bowed, palms upturned as if offering the pact anew. Bran guided Drogon to lower his massive head. Talons scraped and cracked stone spiral, exposing glowing marrow. Bran let his own spirit sink through those fissures, deeper into soil where veins of red gold pulsed with primordial heat. He saw the world's heart, a core of fire circled by ice crust. Between drifted the living, fleeting sparks. The pact was clear. Keeper of fire must dance with Watcher of trees, lest the world burn or freeze unchecked. He pledged silently, on my breath of smoke and wind, on roots of Winterfell older than memory, I will guard the hinge of realms. The child wraiths dissolved, becoming leaves. Wind carried them across starlit lake. Bran felt the temperature rise. Frost retreated. In distance, wolves howled, then quieted. Something had been sealed, or perhaps unsealed, but balanced for the hour. Dawn's first gold brushed treetops. Drogon's restlessness returned like tide. Bran sensed hunger beyond game. The dragon yearned for sky. They departed Isle of Faces with a thunderclap of wings, lake rippling beneath. Bran steered northeast toward rolling green-gold farmland. Mist shredded around obsidian talons. He aimed for an abandoned holdfast where wild cattle grazed. Drogon's flame seared a herd in heartbeat, smoke spiraling. Bran let the dragon feast, tasting charred flesh across a tongue of embers. Life feeding life, unpleasant, necessary symmetry. While Drogon fed, Bran slipped from furnace into his flesh back in King's Landing. His body ached, shoulders stiff, fingertips numb as though night frost lay upon them. The chamber smelled of dust and lime mortar. Tyrion paced near shattered throne room archway, voice hoarse as he argued with Davos and Brienne. They spoke of refugees, grain, of lords gathering at Harrenhal to debate choosing a new monarch should Bran remain silent. When Tyrion noticed Bran's eyes lighten with full attention, he halted mid-step. "Your Grace," Tyrion began, bowing his head slightly. "Rumors spill across the city. They say the dragon roosts upon the god's eye, waiting for your command to raise those who defy it." Bran's voice rasped from disuse. "It waits for no such thing. It waits for understanding." Davos's weather-creased brow furrowed. "Then grant it to us, M-Lord. These small folk fear another cataclysm." Bran's gaze drifted to window slit where sunlight cut dust into motes. "Fear is born where knowledge is absent," he said. "Gather the Lord's declarant on Dragonstone's beach in 7 days. They will see what I see." Tyrion stiffened. "You propose bringing a half-ruined court to an island whose castle was nearly scourged by the very dragon they dread?" Bran's lips twitched. "Dragonstone is cradle of dragonkind. Its cliffs remember first lessons." He turned to Brienne, whose oath shield still bore scorch marks from the city's sack. "Prepare ships enough for 20 banners. No more. Too many swords breed suspicion." Brienne nodded, though uncertainty braided her voice. "As you command, Your Grace." Bran dismissed them. Alone, he slumped. Long minutes he simply breathed, letting physical world claim him fully. Then he retreated inward again, through tunnels of bone and flame to where Drogon cleaned gore from serrated teeth with flick of pink-black tongue. They rose once more into open air, charting a course along rivers curving like silver threads. 3 days passed thus, Bran dancing between bodies. One weaving decrees in shattered red keep, the other circling skies, testing boundaries of trust with a beast men called Monst. Each dawn he flew farther, over Crackclaw Point's stone labyrinths, across Rainwood shimmering under dawn dew, even as far as Blackwater Rush's mouth where fishing cogs scattered at the dragon's silhouette. Bran held Drogon high, far from mast and sail, flames banked. He allowed small folk to witness but not suffer. In their eyes he saw stories sprout. Some called him the storm's spring, others whispered the broken king's fire. Rumor reached Unsullied still camped near the Bay of Dragon's Island chain, awaiting orders from Grey Worm. A council assembled on flagship Peacekeeper, Grey Worm, Missandei's brother Marson, and 3 Nothy healers freed by Daenerys. They read raven scrolls sealed in wax stamped with 3-eyed raven, telling of Bran's pact. Many questioned the cracked sigil, neither dragon nor wolf but both entwined by thorns. Grey Worm's face remained stone. He remembered Daenerys's last breath, the spear of grief lodged inside. Yet he also recalled the queen's tears when slaves trembled at her wings. Could a new king who walked both greatness and frailty honor what she wished yet could not become? He dispatched envoys up the narrow sea to Dragonstone, declaring Unsullied would attend the assembly as free company, not subjects. They would witness, then decide. In Winterfell, Sansa read identical raven. She weighed wax in hand, noting each swirl shaped as branching root around a single burning eye. Arya returned from docks where she studied northern fur trade ships. She found her sister atop rampart, braids tossed by cold wind. "You'll go?" Arya asked. "I must," Sansa replied. "Winterfell cannot shy from decisions shaping the realm. Even if Bran commands a dragon large as 3 red keep stacked." Arya's gray eyes glinted. "I've sailed along coast these weeks. Fisherfolk say he drifts above them like storm cloud come alive." Sansa exhaled. Bran was always dreamer, yet he dreams with purpose now. "If his cause is justice, I'll pledge Winterfell. If tyranny..." She did not finish. Arya brushed fingers across the hilt of needle. "I'll sail south with you, Knights take banners, I take shadows. 7 days dwindled like wax. On Dragonstone's black glass beach, surf crashed thunderous against jagged shards. Lords arrived beneath banners still darkened with soot and tear. Glover's direwolves, Hightower's lighthouse upon green field, Tarly huntsman, Aaron falcon half-molted, Davos carrying Stannis' stag across flaming heart though Stannis lay ashes. Grey Worm's flotilla anchored beyond reef, shields glimmering. Sailcloth wings beat overhead as ravens circled. Tyrion organized throng on tide-smoothed sand, lines fanning toward basalt causeway that led to Castle Gate. Above them, black steps wound like Serpent-up crag. Yet eyes turned seaward when a thunder deeper than surf vibrated bones. Drogon descended from eastern horizon, wings eclipsing dawn.
Bran rode no saddle.
His frail body remained miles away, but within Furnace Heart he guided the beast to land at tide line, claws sinking half a man deep into obsidian sand. Salt water hissed on scales. Heat radiated, drying hair and licking banners crisp. Noise faltered into hush heavier than cathedral silence. Tyrion felt it as weight behind tongue. Grey worms set heel upon ground, unsullied helmets reflecting flame shimmering along Drogon's throat. Bran's voice spilled from Dragon's chest, not roaring but resonant as temple gong vibrating inside every skull. Yet each listener heard words shaped to their own tongue. The message bent to memory like wind-bending field. I am Bran of House Stark, son of Eddard, crowned not by sword nor riot but by vision of realm that must mend itself. I do not come to rule you with fire. I come to remind you fire obeys balance older than crowns. Kneel if you choose. Stand if you must. Only know the wheel you would forge today spins tomorrow's fate for every child unborn. Lords exchanged glances. Fear, awe, defiance swirling. Then from ranks stepped Lady Alice Karstark, scarred from long night's last skirmish. She knelt, blade point set upon sand. Next Davos sank upon knee. The ripple spread. Ser Robin Aaron swayed, then folded. Even Tarly bowed, though knuckles whitened on sword hilt. One by one banners dipped, yet two shapes remained upright, Grey Worm and Sansa. The Unsullied turned his spear but downward, expression unreadable. Sansa's cloak snapped scarlet over wolf sigil dress. Eyes of dire wolf and dragon locked. Bran's voice softened, spoke only to them though still echoing outward. Sister, brother in arms, speak your doubt. Sansa's voice carried crisp, measured. I feared the Iron Throne. I fear no throne now. I fear power untempered. Will you pledge Drogon never again torch his children? I pledge, Bran replied. Dragonfire shall serve harvest before war, warming seed in stone-thick soil, forging plowshares stronger than blades. Yet if dead should rise anew or tyrant scorch earth, dragon shall stand shield. Grey Worm's shoulders eased near imperceptibly. He raised fist, unsullied salute. You seek justice for all, not only lords? All, Bran affirmed. And for queen who dreamed it first though shadow consumed her path. He inclined Drogon's head. The gesture, half bow half embrace, carried weight of absolution. Grey Worm closed eyes. A single tear tracked cheek once stony as winter's barrow. The Unsullied sank to knees. Sansa stepped forward upon wet sand until heat reddened cheeks. She bowed, not to dragon but to open sky between wings. Then the North rides with you, brother. Cheers streamed timid at first, then loud enough to startle gulls from crag. From behind fish-smelling barrels stepped small folk, cooks, oarsmen. They too knelt. Only tide remained standing, ceaseless. Drogon exhaled plume of steam, not flame. Warm mist drifted across crowd, drying tears and sweat without scald. Bran withdrew spirit from furnace, leaving beast under instincts pacified. In his body back in red keep solar, he nodded to Sam who watched through glass window at smoke column far away. Quill flew across parchment finalizing edict. Council of 7 realms to convene in half-moon cycle. Dragons roar to mark start. Days after Dragonstone Congress, Ravens soared crosswind with charters. New seats promised. One for small folk chosen by lottery each turning of seasons. One for unsullied free company. One for Nathi healers representing lands beyond Westeros. The Iron Throne's wreck remained unrecast. Instead, Bran ordered smiths melt twisted metal into plowshares distributed among fields scorched. Symbol and salvation welded. Yet forging peace beckoned envy. Across narrow sea in Pentos, Prince Quentin Martell's bastard rumored to gather sell sales promising vengeance for dragon-burned kin. In Winter Town, old men whispered that Warg King would enslave them through dreams. And deep within Shivering Sea, white shadows stirred. Remnants of Knight's army scattered yet not slain, drawn again by heartbeat of dragonfire. Bran sensed whispers riding wind before ravens heard. He flew Drogon nightly along lonely coasts, scanning frost-hung shores. On ninth night he found proof. An ice floe adrift far south for season, mottled with corpses blue-fleshed, eyes black with onyx dust. Some sank slowly under waves heated by dragons passing, as though soul fled before flame. Bran burned flow to steam, but chill lingered inside Drogon's chest like emberless coal. Winter's root had not been plucked. He returned to council chamber, summoning Sam, Tyrion, Davos, Sansa, and Grey Worm. Candlewell gleamed off plaster still cracked. The war for Dawn whispers anew, Bran told them. Not in legions but in seeds. Each corpse left unburned may sprout memory of Night King's command. We must build pyres at every graveyard, teach rites of ash to all septons, silent sisters, maesters. Davos crossed arms. Small folk will resist desecrating kin. Bran's gaze chill as God's eye ice. Better ash in urn than sword in baby's palm. Tyrion rubbed jaw. Fear is persuasive currency, he muttered. Then louder, we'll send heralds with grain shipments. Ease palate before bitter medicine. Plans sprouted, mobile furnaces on wagons, bard songs extolling cleansing flame, friendly competitions of bonfire festivals. While council schemed logistics, Brand attention drifted. Not away but deeper inside rooms' quiet corners where spiders wove webs of glimmering dust. He felt tremor within Weirwood root network crossing beneath city like nerves. A stranger thread pulsed. Daenerys' final breath echo, still swirling in crypt spaces, yearning. Bran wondered, had Queen's spirit traveled with Dragon? Or did it linger in ashes of charred dais? He closed eyes, seeking. Through stone he touched faint warmth, not rage but promise left unresolved. If he harnessed that memory, could he temper Dragon's mourning further? Could he craft, from two souls, something beyond grief? He reached across network to Drogon perched that dawn on Dragonmont's peak amid sulphurous steam. Bran asked, not with words, if Mother's echo still nested under scales. Drogon's memory opened. Image of Daenerys' face bathed in red glow, tears and sunlight mingled. Her whispered dracaries resonated like lullaby. Bran understood. The dragon would never fully yield until that echo found peace. He returned to council, voice softened. We must inter Daenerys Targaryen in place of honor, not in secret crypts nor sea tomb. On Dragonstone's high scarp, facing east, so Drogon may visit until grieving quiets. A cairn woven of obsidian and smoked glass, flame-lit nightly. Murmurs arose. Some lords balked. She raised their city. Yet Grey Worm's stare silenced them. He simply bowed head. Construction began. Obsidian blocks hauled by chain gang of volunteers. Guilty lords seeking redemption. Drogon himself landed near site, wings whipping dust. He watched as artisans carved reliefs depicting broken wheel, cracking chain, rising phoenix. Knights the dragon breathed gentle flame along stone, fusing surfaces into shimmering glaze. Under such heat men worked shirtless yet unburned, sweat evaporating before droplets fell. 10 days later cairn completed. Pillar of black glass swirling with crimson veins, catching sunrise like heartstone. Drogon circled thrice then roared, a sound half lament, half vow. Flame shot skyward but scattered in gentle petals of ember drifting out to sea. Bran felt not loosen inside furnace. Sorrow remained, but edges dulled. Across realms, hearts changed subtle as seasons. In Riverrun, Lady Edmure's newborn daughter given name Dina Fireheart in honor of Queen whose death birthed peace. In Lannisport, smiths learned dragon-tempered plowshare cut soil like butter, doubling yield. They hung small carved dragons above doorways for luck. Songs spread, the broken king's blaze, ashes of chains, dawn by Drogon's wing, yet others whispered fear. If North Star faltered, dragon might return to purge. Bran welcomed both hope and fear. Balance required twin scales. He chaired council thrice weekly, yet spent moonrise in Drogon's flight. One such night, gliding over Duskendale, he sensed tug from weirwood hewn centuries earlier to build September. Even Stump retained whisper. Through it Bran heard voice not spoken since walls of Winterfell last knew his father. Ned Stark, gentle baritone instructing Bran at archery. The memory thrummed with same echo as Daenerys. Souls of departed swirling in world's root network awaiting singers. Bran realized new path. Use dragonfire to cauterize rifts between living and dead, forging tapestry where memory could speak across time without haunting. A realm where songs preserve truth, not legend. He convened Sam and learned archives of Old Town contained scrolls on green grace of ancient Giscari, rituals binding flame to Storystone. Bran asked Maester to translate, revise, combine with children's runes gleaned from weirwood faces. Together they crafted ceremony called Flame of Echoes. First trial held on Dragonstone. Drogon breathed narrow cone onto obsidian slab engraved by runes. Scene appeared within glass. Daenerys afloat in starlight, smiling gentle. Grey Worm wept to see Queen Untermint, voice singing lullaby of Noth. Lament became blessing, unsullied kneeled. Word of miracle raced hearts. Soon families petitioned for echo ceremonies, crystallizing memories into stone rather than burying rot. Drogon's flame became artistry. Images of lost sons plowing new fields, of daughters dancing, of knights charging into dead snow to shield innocence. Each slab-lined city squares, forming garden of echoes. Grief turned to pilgrimage and trade. Stonemasons and storytellers thrived. Yet where hope gathers, dark prophet shadows. In Lys, mages coveted technique, plotting to abduct Greenseer King for secrets. In Iron Islands, priests of drowned god declared flame idolatry. Worse, whispers surfaced of ice necromancers using shards of echo stone, cooled too quickly, to trap souls and twist them to frost. Bran sensed perversion. He soared Drogon across narrow sea nights on end, shattering counterfeit slabs with fire purer than gold. On one such hunt, he discovered clandestine cove north of Skagos, where figures stood upon deck of black ship forged from weirwood hull. Hair white as bone whipped in gale, Jon Snow. He had sailed alone, seeking penance beyond world's edge. Drogon's arrival sent crew, wildlings sworn to him, scrambling below. Jon met Dragon's gaze with steady sorrow. Bran alighted on deck, joining as Raven upon railing. He entered Drogon partly, yet allowed brother to recognize presence. Jon knelt, voice hoarse. If penance you seek from me, take it. I slew our queen. Bran answered through Drogon's rumble. I seek your promise, not your head. Jon looked up, eyes mirrored Seastorm. Promise of what? Of shield, Bran said. Ice as shield to flame. Two sides we share. Mother's northern blood, father's southern flame. Together we mend what I alone cannot. Jon's gaze flicked to Dragon so close its heat reddened cheeks raw from salt. Memories flashed. Ride upon regal, flight above Winterfell. He swallowed. I swore never again claim Dragon. You need not ride, Bran whispered through night wind. Stand where flame fades to smoke. Guard ashes so no darkness steals them. Jon understood. He clasped sword hilt, long claw of Valyrian steel shimmering. He bowed, not to Dragon nor Bran but to vow itself. From shadows stepped Tormund Giantsbane, Alice Karstark and Spearwives, they pledged. Bran soared back south, heart lighter. Dragon and wolf would watch night and day. Months blurred. Kingdom repairing roads, forging laws, planting new seeds. Bran's council grew. Nymeria Sand representing Dornish free marches, Maester Cho Callow from Summer Isles charting scholarship, even Ironborn Lady Inthel Greyjoy offering fleet for trade routes. Balance wove thread by thread. Yet final trial loomed. Winter's remnants stirring beyond shivering sea, forging ragged army from drowned dead. Bran dreamt of them. Figures cloaked in kelp and barnacle, eyes glowing teal, commanded by shadow wearing crown of coral and frost. A fragment of Night Kings will fuse to ocean's grave. This dark tide, unbound by wall or weirwood, yearned for warm coasts. Bran called gathering at Blackwater Bay, beneath walls still scarred by wildfire. Fleets from every realm anchored side by side, flags shimmering multicolored. On shore, forges rang day and night shaping armor tempered in Drogon's breath. Scales of obsidian steel. Tarly archers, Aaron falcon guard, unsullied phalanx, wildlings on shaggy elk. They assembled. Bran addressed them through voice amplified by dragon's roar. The long night does not shatter in single dawn. Its shards drift upon tide of forgetfulness, seeking cracks. We seal them now. Fire and song and courage. They cheered. That eve Drogon lit sky with aurora of scarlet and gold, forging dome of hope above fleet. Battle came on moonless night. Dark tides dead surfaced like corpses spat by sea, dragging themselves onto black cliffs of Crackclaw Point. Storm howled. Bran guided Drogon's flame in sweeping arcs, but foe doused fires with brine conjured by sorcery. Water hissed, turning to glassy shrapnel slicing infantry. Bran felt doubt swirl, fire neutralized. Yet he remembered pact, balance of elements. Ice alone could shield. He called across distance for Jon. From ridge of Weeping Tower Jon answered horn. His wildlings charged downhill bearing torches of pine tar soaked in oil and alchemical salt that burned beneath water. Where Drogon's flame faltered, tar fire clung to drowned dead, igniting them from within. Ice shielded flame, flame cleansed ice. Battle raged until dawn. At climax Bran dove Drogon into wave front, boiling sea, while Jon leapt upon corpse-frosted reef driving Longclaw through coral crown. Blade cracked, releasing wail like thousand gulls. Dark tide collapsed, seawater gurgling as bodies melted to brine. Dawn unveiled battlefield nature. Black glass shore fused, reflecting peach sky. Survivors knelt, banging shields in rhythm-matching surf. Bran circled once, then landed near Jon. Brothers faced each other, man on foot, dragon overshadowing. They exchanged nod without words. Wheel of Destiny clicked into new notch. Months later, Blackglass Shore declared sacred. Marker of last echo of long night. Temple of tide and flame erected. Altar forged from fused obsidian and coral, tended by joint order of red priests and silent sisters. Their prayers for dead rose each dusk, and pyres burned each dawn, smoke curling into patterns of wolf and dragon intertwined. Bran returned to governance, yet his rule became quieter. He needed speak less, for stories etched in echo slabs taught more than decrees. People tended memories as crops, watered them, lit them at feast nights. Fear subsided. Bards updated old rhyme. When dragon soars and winter howls slash, the broken king shall bind their prowls slash with wolf-wide eyes and fiery breath slash. He guides the realm through life and death. Years turned. Sansa ruled thriving north. Arya charted unknown continents west. Tyrion built library from melted swords. Sam penned compendium, Annals of Balance. Jon guarded northmost lighthouse flanked by direwolf ghost and red priestess Miria. Drogon nested among Alcairns, fathering two hatchlings who splashed in sea foam like living comets. Bran aged little, greenseer blood slowed time. But one eve he felt gentle tug. Echo of Daenerys smiled from her cairn slab, lips forming single word. Enough! He knew it was cue. He called council, relinquished crown to assembly that now governed itself, guided by slate of rotating voices. He retreated to Isle of Faces, wheeled chair left behind. There, beneath boughs, he merged wholly with weirwood root and dragon flame, becoming observer beyond flesh. In final clarity he saw world while spinning but now on true axis. balanced by memory and dream. A child in Riverrun glimpsed her lost brother smiling from Echo Slab and chose to study healing. A fisherman in Stepstones hauled nets of glass that shone at night, forging trade. Wolves of North howled to dragons over dusk horizon. Dragons replied. Thus Bran's chronicles closed, no subtitle, no epilogue engraved by court historian. Instead, stories whispered through campfire and carved in obsidian stained by dragon tears. The broken king who walked in wings showed realm fear concede wonder, grief can temper flame, and will once crushing may turn harvest if every spoke bears equal weight. And somewhere beyond horizon a new dawn always waited, mirrored in black GLA. SS Shore, reflected in unblinking eyes of tree and dragon alike, promising that as long as memory held, balance endured. PGSQL. Summer settled upon Westeros with a gentleness no one expected after years of blood and ash. Fields ripened early beneath skies that no longer trembled at the beat of a single dragon's wings but instead welcomed the distant silhouettes of three, the elder Drogon and his two adolescent offspring, each skinned in differing shades of black red and smoky silver. Farmers paused their reaping when the trio passed. They raised straw hats, watching embers of sunset chase the great shapes north or east, and the stories they told their children were colored more by wonder than fear. In such moments Bran's design, memory balanced between dread and promise, wove itself into the marrow of the realm. Yet beneath plenty, currents shifted. Lords who had bowed on Dragonstone now found allegiance tested by prosperous peace that diminished their relevance. Without war to wage, swords dulled in scabbards, taxes once poured into armories diverted to public works decreed by the Council of Voices. Cobblestone roads stitched from Old Town to the Neck, aqueducts arched across the Reach. Grain houses rose along Dornish deserts where unsullied engineers taught brick kilns fired with glass-hard dragon ash. Small folk praised these monuments, yet some nobles saw honor bleed from their banners like dye in rain. Lady Melara Hightower, newly seated after her father's quiet passing, gathered a coterie of reform-weary lords in the topmost library of the High Tower. Scrolls of ancient Valyrian treatises on dragons lay open across cedar tables. The flicker of oil lamps forged conspiratorial contours across proud brows. Melara spoke in measured cadence. That Bran's flame of echoes threatened the doctrines of the faith, that the Council of Voices siphoned away the natural order endowed by the Seven, that a king who had melted the Iron Throne now dissolved baronies one decree at a time. Her audience listened, cups of arbor gold turning slowly in fingers. No man dared curse the broken king openly, but Melara's language of rectification and reordination took root. Across the narrow sea, the free cities watched rumors as merchants track weather. They had lost tariffs when Bran decreed fair sea duties for ships of all banners. Most begrudgingly paid, but Qohor and Lys chafed harder. Their coin counters lobbied the triarches of Volantis, whispering, if Westeros could bind dragon flame to shape obsidian memory, what riches might lie in persuading Bran's council to export the craft? Diplomats came, honeyed tongues requesting cultural exchange. The council answered with measured grace. Knowledge could be shared, but flame remained Drogon's alone. It was a polite refusal. Still, Volantene pride rarely swallowed no. They turned instead to the black market seers of shadow, promising coffers of jade for a shard of echo glass stolen from Westerosi pilgrims. Meanwhile, far north of Frostfangs, Jon Snow kept watch with Ghost at the Lighthouse of Last Light, a squat stone tower built upon black glass shore after the Dark Tide's defeat. The tower housed braziers burning tar oil and alchemical salt. At Jon's command, they could ignite blue-white columns bright enough to guide ships through storms or warn the realm of shadow rising. He seldom lit them, for nights were calm. Instead, he patrolled the Iceworld cliffs, teaching young wildling cadets swordcraft. The peace soothed him, yet in quiet hours Jon felt the pull of distant drums, one of ash beating under Drogon's sternum whenever the great beast soared overhead on migrations. Each tremor stirred memory of Rhaegal's last cry and of Daenerys' shattered dream. Jon carried guilt as quietly as new snow, but he carried it still. On one such dawn, Ghost whined at the cliff edge, hackles bristling toward eastern sea. Jon narrowed his eyes, spotting a smudge of sails. Black, trimmed in bronze. No merchant flew such colors. He signaled horn blast, unknown approach. Ravens launched from rookery with charcoal wings, bearing warning south. In King's Landing, now renamed the confluence for the canals Bran ordered carved through war-riven ruins, Tyrion Lannister acted hand in all but title. His quills scratched across parchment when the Raven arrived. He scanned report, brow knitting. Unknown fleet 30 longships strong, hulls carved from dark teak, prows shaped as open-mouthed wyverns. Course, black glass shore. Tyrion's memory sifted histories. Wyvern prows were hallmark of Volantene black flags. Slavers turned privateers, rumored to smuggle red priests one year and assassins the next. He dispatched riders north, south, and east. One to Old Town's Maester Cho Callow, another to unsullied garrison at Storm's End, and a third to Winterfell for Sansa. Then he turned to the thick leather ledger of council seating and sighed. Their delicate lattice of voices would soon be tested by steel. Bran felt the tension before ravens reached him. In the root dream beneath Isle of Faces, he read the weirwood network like vibrations through spider's web. A new thread plucked, ambition braided with avarice. He traced it across water, saw decks where Lyseni mages in cobalt robes knelt around captured shard glowing sickly purple under blood-glass lanterns. The shard pulsed with a trapped echo stolen from a cairn slab. He glimpsed flicker. Daenerys' face contorted in pain. Rage scored Bran's calm. The theft desecrated what he'd wrought for healing. He summoned Drogon with a thought as crisp as mountain winter, and wings thundered from Dragonmont within a breath, answering call older than memory. Sansa, voyaged southbound to Confluence for monthly session, intercepted Tyrion's raven in Maidenpool. She summoned her guard but kept hounds in leash. No rash strike until council weighed. Yet she prepared. She sent message to Jon, Volantene sail inbound, echo theft suspected, and to Arya, whose vessel charted unknown waters west. If you roam near stepstones, watch for black wyverns. Ravens scattered like black sparks into dawn. On black glass shore, Jon rallied wildlings and local fisherfolk into shield walls along ridgeline. They carried plowshare steel shields, forged from melted swords and dragon-tempered. Fewer than 500, but hearts steeled. Tormund Giantsbane thumped his chest, boasting he'd wrestle any wyvern prow to driftwood. Jon smiled grimly, placing him on left flank. They lit tower braziers. Blue-white fire speared sky. Far above, gulls wheeled against unnatural glare. The Volantene fleet answered beacon by splitting formation. 20 ships north toward Last Light, 10 hugging coast south. Jon counted masts, reading intent. Pincer to draw defenders thin. Ghost barked once. Jon signaled Tormund to hold ridge. He detached 20 archers to trailing cliffs, their arrows tipped with dragonglass shards that glimmered. When first longship crashed ashore, its ramp dropped with metallic screech and armored mercenaries in purple scale advanced, tower shields raised. Among them prowled magisters in cobalt robes. They chanted, hands weaving sigils undone since doom. Jon raised Longclaw. Loose! Arrows hissed. Some glanced off shields, others found gaps under armpits. Where dragonglass struck flesh, shards melted into shadow, severing souls. Mercenaries faltered, unnerved by deaths without blood. Magisters extended trembling hands toward cliff. Purple shard between them pulsed, unveiling ghostly silhouette of Daenerys behind Jon's ranks. Wildlings gasped. For heartbeat Jon's sword dipped, guilt resurfaced. The magisters twisted craft, projecting Daenerys' visage pleading, "Stop, my love," in voice echoing tide. Some fisherfolk wept, dropping spears, but Ghost snarled and lunged, spectral eyes fixed on illusion. His leap clove through phantom. It shattered into violet motes and dissipated. The Volantenes reeled, their spell reliant on fear rather than substance. In that moment horns blew from horizon. Drogon soared overhead, sun at his back like crown of flame. Jon felt pulse inside ribs, answering thunder, and roared, "Advance!" Drogon's shadow smothered shore. He did not ignite. Bran guided him to roar wind instead. buffeting ships still offshore. Masts snapped. 2 vessels foundered on submerged rocks. Panic rippled. Yet one Magister stand firm upon prow, incanting phrase older than cities. Purple shard lashed crimson beam at Drogon, striking chest scale, burning rung of runes across obsidian hide. Drogon shrieked. Bran felt stab like ice in lung. The dragon faltered mid-air, dropping toward surf. Bran poured calm, root song through scale, steady wings regained. But wound seeped black smoke. Enchantment attempted to anchor Drogon to ground. Bran countered. He reached along networks of weirwood to lighthouse brazier. Flame within tower flared cerulean. A beam of saltfire shot sky, carving through enchantment, severing runic chain. Drogon freed, wheeled, unleashed column of fire hotter than any since King's Landing. It engulfed prow, crystal, magister alike. They became glass sculpture dissolving to vapor. Chains shattered, Volantines broke ranks. Some threw themselves into tide. Others fled inland only to find Tormund's spears waiting. The battle ended with roar of surf swallowing screams. Jon rallied survivors. Half-dozen wounded wildlings and thrice wounded fisherfolk, yet defeat inflicted minimal. Drogon landed atop cliff. Bran's voice rumbling from cavernous throat summoned wounded to gather. He exhaled cone of gentle heat sealing slashes, cauterizing. Survivors reached up, touching cooled scales in gratitude. At dusk, Bran entered corporeal body within confluence where council convened. Tyrion and Sansa arrived, eyes still wide from messenger pigeons. Bran spoke. The realm's enemies weaponize echo memory. We must guard cairns, restrict shards transport, train sentinels to sense soul-binding magics. Council ratified decree establishing guardians of echo, orders drawn from maesters, silent sisters, red priests, green seers of children, even a few reformed faceless men who vowed anonymity to memory rather than coin. They would patrol temples, forges, and caravan routes. Meanwhile, Lady Melara's faction seized moment. They petitioned Faith Militant, arguing Bran's council now practiced necromancy, animating dead impressions, a sin against the Seven. Sparrows, once dispersed, convened again in secret septs. High Septon, pious yet wary of political winds, agreed to debate, not condemn, but rumblings started. Bran, aware, summoned High Septon privately beneath the sept's crystal roof. Through shared vision, Bran showed graves of plague victims cleansed by echo fire, freed from risk of white reanimation. He relayed laughter of children hearing lost mother's lullaby from cairn stone. High Septon wept, seeing mercy not heresy. He preached sermon extolling dragon's grace as extension of the Father's light, quelling zealots. Yet Qohor and Lys persisted. Spies attempted thefts in Old Town vaults. Guardians intercepted, but one fragment escaped aboard narrow craft bound east. Arya, sailing west of Stepstones, received Sansa's warning via seabird. She changed course, intercepting sloop at dusk near broken chain of sunken rocks. Her crew, Tyroshi pilot Mateo, Nathi windreader Imai, and Bravosi water dancer Nerio, boarded. They found Lysini mage clutching lead-lined coffer. Fight flashed steel moonlight. Mage hissed curse, summoning oily shadow serpent from coffer. Nerio's blade parted its head, but serpent's death throw splashed venom scorching deck to char coaxing open coffer revealed shard glowing with half-formed face of Daenerys weeping tears of smoke. Arya held shard and felt weight of stolen grief. She whispered apology, then melted it in brazier using wildfire jar kept for emergencies. The smoke rose and drifted starward. She sailed to Confluence, shards residue sealed in wax to warn council. Their craft could be abused for torment of spirits. The council accepted directive to embed failsafes. Each echo slab now etched with weirwood root sigil that tethered memory to specific location. Removal caused image fade. Implementation required droplet of dragonfire per slab. Drogon and offspring toured realm, breathing measured flames. Hatchlings learned art, wings still awkward. People thronged roads to witness living myth. Markets blossomed around their arrivals, forging economy of hope. Seasons rolled. Bran seldom left I'll accept in mind, yet he touched world through watchers. Jon at lighthouse, Arya on tides, Sansa across snows, Tyrion inside halls, Grey Worm over southern seas. He nurtured seedlings of new forests on burn scars, coaxed mycelium that purified battle-poisoned soil. He conversed with newborn hearts, guiding them into grove of memory. And one winter's eve he sensed ripple quite unlike threats. Rather a stirring of life, a wing beat smaller but resonant. Dragon egg cracking in crypts of Winterfell, warmed by geothermal veins once awakened by Drogon's flights. The hatchling emerged ivory and gold, eyes green as weirwood leaves. It bonded to Hearth's children, playing among wolves. Bran rejoiced. Dragons and direwolves thriving side by side. For years calm reigned, punctuated by skirmishes but no wars. The broken king faded into legend even as he lived. Some said he merged wholly with roots. Others glimpsed him on Dragonback shining like moonlit river. In truth, Bran existed in liminal plain. Time wore him lightly. Then comet streaked across sky, green tail painting midnight. Many took omen of prosperity. Bran tasted bitterness. Comet's path tore fabric between realms. He felt bleed of something ancient imprisoned beneath Shadowlands. He sought Drogon, but Elder Dragon dozed among obsidian cliffs. Bran rode into mind and ascended beyond clouds following Comet's trail eastward. What he found there chilled marrow of fire. Rift swirling azure lightning, spilling phantoms of wyverns long dead, twisted and translucent. A gate fissured to dimension where Doom's victims still screamed, now seeking egress. Comet served as key, and only dragon flame anchored by Greenseer might weld fracture closed. Bran returned to council. Urgency shivered through voice. He required pilgrimage east to Shadow at World's Edge. Council protested, "Realm cannot relinquish Guardian." Bran answered, "Realm doomed if gate yawns. Balance extends beyond coasts." Drogon prepared. Hatchlings insisted accompany. Jon volunteered guard. Ghost howled agreement. Arya demanded share, her ship swift as hawk. Sansa remained, steward of North and Council, trusting realm's maturity. Voyage assembled. Drogon carrying Bran upon neck, hatchlings circling. Jon aboard longship Snow's Oath with wildling volunteers and maesters of guardians. Arya's cutter needles point scouting ahead, sails pale gray that vanished in mist. They crossed Jade Sea unchallenged, but as they neared Ashai's gloom, sky bruised. Whispers brushed hulls, wraiths tasting flesh. Hatchlings spat fire, yet phantoms reknit. Bran realized only union of Cindermoon's emerald comet shard and heartflame of eldest dragon could cauterize. They needed comet itself, landing site in eastern waste. Using Greenseer sight, Bran tracked green plume blazing horizon. They rode tailwind. On 8th dawn they found crater of fused black glass. Comet core remained, crystalline, thrumming cosmic fire. Surrounding ring swarmed translucent wyvern shades hissing. Landing, Bran stepped down from Drogon's shoulder. Legs steady though years immobile. In this place he controlled flesh by will. Jon disembarked, ghost padding. Arya's silent men circled. Bran raised palms. Roots burst from desiccated sand, sprouting pale shoots weaving into lattice. Drogon exhaled steady flame channeling into lattice. Bran directed tendrils to wrap comet core, drawing energy. He sang language of leaves and embers, harmonic aligning starflame with earthgrove. Phantoms screeched, lunging, but hatchlings intercepted, biting shadow into ash. Jon defended Bran's body, slicing wraith after wraith. Arya danced among them, twin daggers carved from black glass shore. Lattice tightened, comet core shrank, condensing light into seed. Bran beckoned Drogon to swallow seed. Elder Dragon hesitated, this fire foreign might consume. Bran promised union would ascend him beyond flesh. Drogon trusted, jaws closed round seed. Light erupted through scale seams, traveling wings like veins of lightning. Roar split skies. Drogon flapped upward, his body expanding luminous. Bran's consciousness fused within, no longer separate mind guiding but integrated. He perceived world not as map but as living sphere of threads connecting beings. He voiced one word, mend. Light cascaded across breach, fissure sealed as glowing stitch. Wraiths evaporated like dew at noon. Storms ceased. In hush, Drogon descended, yet not same. Wings spectral, edges limbed aura. Bran, now entangled, new dragon would transcend mortality, roam as guardian spirit. Farewells heavy. Jon looked upon glowing beast, seeing spark of Daenerys glimmer too. Tears traced cheek, guilt eased. Arya saluted. Bran spoke from within radiance. Realm no longer needs king seated, it needs watchful memory. You are my remembrance. He lifted, carrying hatchlings. They followed path into upper sky, tails streaming starlight. They dwindled, merging with veil between world and firmament. Jon, Arya, wildlings sailed home carrying story. At confluence, Sansa received them. She convened voices. They enshrined new charter. Council of Seeds would rotate leadership. Memory stones would be tended by guardians. No mortal king again, only stewards chosen by merit. Years later, children asked grandsires if dragons truly left. Elders pointed at night where 3 glimmering stars traced arc. One large, 2 smaller, slow across heavens. They called them the Watchers. In times of upheaval, shooting star would peel from trio, descending to remind realm of balance. And in crypts of Winterfell, ivory gold dragon matured, riderless yet gentle, curling around roots of hearth tree, singing deep hum echoing both wolf and fire. The broken king became myth, but grove of Isle of Faces retained echo. If one sat beneath face carved in tears of sap and listened to wind across reeds, they could hear soft voice telling stories of fire taught mercy and ice taught hope. And the wheel turned, not as grinder of men but as millstone turning grain to bread, feeding generations whose dreams no longer cowered beneath shadows of throne, but soared with wings of memory into sunrise unbound. So ended tale of Bran Stark, who seized Drogon not to conquer but to heal, whose throne was root and flame, whose legacy was balance between burning and blooming. And though his wings vanished into constellations, every flicker of hearth and leaf that rustled under summer wind carried a whisper of his watchful gaze, reminding all that power, when fused with compassion, becomes light that can mend even fractures carved by comet's fire.